Hi, welcome to another episode of Along the River. I'm Alex Herzog, the host, and with me today is Derek Ferland, Sullivan County Manager. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Alex. Great to be here.
Well, Derek, I first want to point out that you're a retired Air Force colonel, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. How many years?
I served just under 22 on
That's
active duty.
amazing. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you coming back to Claremont. Now, born and raised here?
Raised here, yes. Born in England. My mom and dad. My dad was in the Air Force for a short time and was stationed. His last assignment was in England. So I was born there, and then we came home about 6 weeks after I was born, and then here to Claremont.
And a graduate of the Air Force Academy?
Yes, yep.
That's
Stevens
fantastic.
High School first,
Stevens High
and then Air
School?
Force Academy second. Yep,
That's excellent.
yep. Many years ago. It's hard to believe this is my 30th high school reunion year. I know I look
right.
much younger than that,
No, you
but
don't.
it's true.
Yeah, well, but you look fantastic. And the big gig you got here is Sullivan County Manager. That's kind of a big job for you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of challenges. I've learned so much. I've been here actually just over 4 years. So I retired from active duty in January of 2017 and came back to Claremont and wasn't sure what I was going to do next. And just a fortuitous bit of timing. So at first the county had a facilities director job that was open, and that's what I first applied for. And then during the interview process, the county manager job unexpectedly came open sooner than was expected. And so I was nominated or pushed to also apply for that job. So the county put the facilities director position on hold and then completed the hiring for the county manager job. So very lucky, but
Well,
sometimes
we're
it's better
lucky
to
to
be lucky
have
than
you.
good.
It's I'm sure your breadth of experience, much a learning curve for you coming from the Air Force and your role previously to the county manager.
Well, I think a lot more translated to this job than I would have expected.
Oh, good.
But like I said, there are definitely some new things. That's what's made the job challenging and exciting. I think if everything was old hat, I probably would have gotten bored very quickly.
Right.
But yeah, so it's a nice blend, and I was pleasantly surprised at how much of my Air Force experience translated well to this job.
Great. So, but in your role, all of a sudden, COVID hit, right? Did it do much to change how the county did business and your role and such? What were the things you had to deal with?
The biggest thing was just the protection of staff and residents at both the nursing home and the jail. For the first 10 months of the pandemic, we really did an amazing job. I mean, we did an amazing job the whole time. And so again, I think good fortune had a large part to play in that, but we also had great processes in place and the PPE, the protective equipment. And it just turned out that as we got into 2021, right after Christmas and into New Year's is when our luck ran out, frankly, and that's when we had the outbreaks both at the nursing home and the jail. So, but we weathered that storm. It was difficult, though. It did absolutely change the way we do business, and also for our families and the visitation that was definitely impacted by the pandemic. So, but we're coming out of it now. Almost everyone's been vaccinated. All the residents have been. Most of the staff have been. And so, every day and week that we put behind us without any positive tests means we get to introduce more of what we'd call the good old days of
Right.
family visitation and such. So, we said very early on to the department heads that we were going to learn a lot about ourselves as an organization as this crisis unfolded, and we did. And I will tell you, the vast majority of things that we learned were very positive. We know we have a great team, and to see them live that and demonstrate it day in and day out through some very trying circumstances was frankly quite heartening. It was one of, I guess, the small silver lining that you can take away from something as awful as this has been. But and not a huge shock, though. I knew we had a great team, and it really was their in a crisis. It was their time to shine, and they did.
That's fantastic. So I've been a big supporter of the Sullivan County Nursing Home, the facility. My father-in-law was there, and I always appreciated how he was treated there with such kind respect, at his end of days and such. Let's jump right into that. I know that they're looking at a renovation down the road. I was wondering if you can kind of give us a 20,000-foot view of what that looks like and all the pieces there.
Sure. Yeah, big undertaking. This is, as we've said, we've been working on this design for the better part of the last 3 years. So this has been it's a big undertaking. First time the county has really had to confront a decision this big in well over 50 years. The Stearns building, which is the main body of the nursing home, was finished in 1970. So the discussions and the planning and everything that we're doing right now was last done in the mid-1960s. So if you put it into some perspective, you realize, wow, this is a big decision, and not just because of the dollars that are involved. But there are a lot of dollars involved. I mean, this is a very expensive project. Our last cost estimate was between $50 and $55 million, and that's frankly been shocking to folks. I mean, it's shocking to me, and it's a massive commitment that will, if it's approved, will last the county for the next 50 to 60 years. But that's what is right before us. And so next Tuesday night, of course, I'm not sure when this will air, but on April 13th is when the public hearing will be. And so that'll be the delegation's opportunity to hear concerns and comments from the members of the public about what this commitment will mean for the taxpayers of Sullivan County. So, as I said, it's more money than maybe any of us would have contemplated or even wanted, but a lot of that is due to, as we've said, there are a couple of main factors behind that. Number one, the federal regulations, as you can imagine, have changed considerably since the 1960s. So what we're essentially required to do now is build rooms that are twice as large as what we have currently. So right now we have two residents that will share a room, and that room is about 450 square feet.
Right.
Under the new rules, that space will only accommodate one resident because of the spatial requirements around the bed to accommodate wheelchair access and the hoists for residents that can't get in and out of bed on their own and things of that nature. So in addition to that, the ratio of bathrooms to residents has changed so that we have to have a restroom for every 2 residents. Right now it's for every 4 that share a toilet.
So it's not just new standards. We also know that prices for construction are gone up because materials are more expensive and such like that. So it's compounding that effect.
Absolutely. And so we've seen in this area, the construction market, anybody who's noticed the real estate market just in general in the last year, surprisingly with COVID, this has become an in-demand place. And so when you have great demand for materials and labor, prices go up accordingly. So that's also been a factor that we've had to contend with, frankly. And then the third factor is just the existing conditions, trying to blend in the addition with the existing facility. And there are just some challenges inherent with that. It's still a less expensive option than going and building new. We have a lot of land, and so people have said, well, why don't you just go build a new building out in one of your fields? And we did look at that. We did some preliminary analysis, and unfortunately, that's even more expensive than what we're trying to do. So, all in all, it's going to be a very significant investment if we want to stay in the long-term care business. And as we have presented to the delegation previously, we don't have to be in the long-term care business. There's no state law that says counties shall operate nursing homes. That's a choice that we make. And so, again, if that's what we want to do as a community and as a county, then that's what it's going to require. Unfortunately, when they write the federal standards, they don't care if you're from a poor county or a rich county.
Right,
The standard is the standard. So the other thing that we've discussed, maybe I'm at the 15,000-foot level. I don't want to get too detailed, but it's because there's been a lot of information and a lot of public meetings over the last 3 years. So just build a smaller building, and that's been, why don't you just do that? And that way you can spend less money. And the answer to that is, well, because we think we need the beds that we have. And right now we're licensed for 156 beds. So the demographics and the research that we've done into that for the next 20 to 25 years as the baby boomer generation ages suggests that we're going to need those beds because there will be a larger aged population. The other factor is if we reduce the number of beds, it would change the mix of our census in terms of Medicaid, Medicare, and private payers. And right now we've got a nice balance where we have enough private pay and Medicare eligible residents that it helps balance out the Medicaid residents because Medicaid reimbursement rates do not fully cover the cost of providing care.
Oh, okay.
So you need those other 2 rate payers to help things kind of work out. And if we had fewer beds, we wouldn't probably reduce our Medicaid population, but we would reduce our private pay and our Medicare population. And so what that would result in is an annual deficit of probably $1.5 to $2.5 million on our operating costs, like most other counties have. So right now we're the second best performing county in the state when it comes to our county-run nursing homes. Depending on the year, we're very close to break even, and that's pretty good.
That's fantastic.
But if we
yes.
change the mix, we would probably be, down $1 million or $2 million a year. So it's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you spend it on the project up front, or do you pay it going forward? And so
Seems like there's a lot to consider there, and if the public
Yeah.
wants to give comment, they should get on April 13th. That's the public forum you were talking about.
Yes.
And they can present their comments there. If they don't want to do that, is there a way they can email or send letters? Or
Absolutely. I highly encourage people to contact their state representatives.
Excellent. Okay.
That's probably the best conduit to express any concerns they might have. I mean, they can certainly call the county and talk to county staff. They can call the Sullivan County Board of Commissioners. So they have a number of outlets at their disposal if they want to share concerns about this project.
Website while we're talking about this, in case people want to know, what's the website for the Sullivan County?
Sullivan County's website's sullivancountynh.gov.
Thank you, Sil. That's great. Well, I want to jump over to, thanks for that info. I feel like I've unplugged the dam right there. But I know another big topic, and it's another building you're working on, is the sober housing project. And I really love this because it's kind of a midway house for folks coming out of, and if you go to our county jail and you talk to the superintendent out there, the number one crime we're seeing there is addiction. Mm-hmm. And this is a great halfway house for folks to get back into the community. How's that coming along? It's
coming along very well. The construction started last fall, and really from then until now, it's been focused on the interior demolition and hazardous materials abatement. So we haven't really started, construction per se in terms of building walls, but that's going to start very soon. So yeah, we're very excited. Eric from the e-ticker, we just had him on site. He took a bunch of pictures, and there was a nice article in the e-ticker.
That was good looking, yeah.
And it's an amazing building. I mean, they don't build them like they used to, quite literally. And now that we've got the inside opened up and the interior paint's been sandblasted, it exposes the large wooden structural members in the building. It's phenomenal. You can almost feel like you're in the Common Man when you see the big wooden beams and the brick walls. It's pretty cool. So yeah, we're very excited. We're closing on some loans that have been in the works for many months with New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, as well as
what was the original, that building was built originally for what?
The Eagle Times.
The Eagle Times,
yes,
correct.
It was the home of the Eagle Times, built in the early 1930s.
Wow.
As a one-story building, which was subsequently added on.
Yeah, because it's two stories now.
Yeah. And that was added on in the early to mid 40s, we believe. So that's why it's got that white band of brick around it. Originally, that was the roof. It's pretty cool. A lot of history there. I grew up going to the Methodist Church, which is right across the street.
Right.
So as a kid, I can remember looking down in the windows along Franklin Street and seeing the printing presses, going about 100 miles an hour. So it's really, really cool. And so we're glad to be a part of really the history associated with that building, and feel like we're going to contribute positively to the downtown renaissance that's going on with some of the other exciting projects in Claremont.
Pleasant Street revival that's going to be happening in Claremont. A lot of those things coming up.
And frankly, filling a need, because that's one of the things we've learned as a result of running the TRAILS program through our Department of Corrections. And for those that don't know, TRAILS stands for Transitional Reentry and Inmate Life Skills. It's a program that we started in around 2010. It was groundbreaking at the time. Nobody else was doing anything remotely like it, and it has since been copied by most other counties in New Hampshire and many organizations around the country. So it really has become the standard bearer for really digging deeper into criminal behavior and analyzing the root causes. And if the root cause is addiction, well, the premise is if you fix the addiction, you will eliminate criminal behavior for a large majority of these individuals. Right. And our statistics, I think, have borne that out. And so we're very excited about it. We have a great
partnership, and thanks to you, with the Sugar River Valley Regional Technical Center, where we get the inmates for a couple of weeks, and we train them in the past 2 years in carpentry skills. And that has been a really great program, not only for us, and we were able to build some really great projects for the community. So I thought that was a really good partnership.
Yeah, that's just one example. It's great that the power of rehabilitation and giving these folks a second chance. They've paid their debt. They've done their sentence, and so it's like, well, what are you going to do with them the rest of their lives? A lot of these individuals are in their 20s.
Right.
And so you just can't turn your back on them and say, well, they've got a scarlet letter, and you're never going to integrate them into your society and your community again. I mean, these people are their sons and daughters, their parents, their siblings. I mean, there's a lot of people in our communities that depend on them. So would you rather have them be working as productive members of our community, or or be a burden. So
Makes
this is one
sense.
way that they can help themselves and help our community at the same time.
Absolutely. I know that the inmates that came in last year helped us set up all these great things for COVID. That was a concern for us at the school district, and they really got some great skills. And the year before, we know that a couple of them were hired by local businesses, and they're actually, we checked, and they're still employed. So this is some good things we're doing.
It's a success story. So we're
You're
pleased to be a
also
part of it.
involved with the HUD lead abatement program. Just give me another glimpse on that.
Sure. So that's another opportunity where the county, we view ourselves as a great partner for agencies that want to work with us. And, we're very keenly aware that we don't want to ever overstep our authority as a county government and be redundant with what the municipalities rightfully are the primary role for a lot of what goes on in the state of New Hampshire. But sometimes it makes sense for us to work together, and the county is a natural convener in that way. And so this program is a perfect example of that. This lead program really started with the leadership demonstrated by the city of Claremont, in particular Mayor Lovett. She's been banging on about the hazards of lead in both water pipes and lead paint for many years. And so as we dug into this issue and the available funding mechanisms to help abate the lead, what we realized collectively was that the existing programs really weren't that useful. Mm-hmm. They're complicated, they're hard to qualify for, and they didn't really even come close to touching the total dollars of what an abatement project generally costs. So we wanted to get a direct grant from HUD. Well, you have to be a pretty big municipality to qualify for that, because currently only Manchester and Nashua get the grants direct from HUD. But there was a sense that if we applied at a county level, that we'd be successful. And so that's what we did. The city came to us, asked if we would do that. We said, absolutely, we'd be happy to. We wrote the grant application. We got awarded just over $1.7 million.
Wow.
And so work is actually beginning right now. In fact, today we just received bids back on our first 2 properties. So we'll be making some awards. They're both here in Claremont, as it turned out. And so the abatement work will begin probably later this month. So it's been really exciting to see that project come together.
That's fantastic. I know that they sponsored, when the city was working with that, a couple of our teachers here went through the contractor training so that we could talk to students about that. And we're hoping that we can continue that. I've talked to the city a number of times about it, but I think it's an awesome program.
Yeah, we're excited. It's there's a huge demand. Our housing stock is old, and it's got a lot of lead paint, but you got to start somewhere, right? And so this is us as a community and as a county starting from square one. So
that's great.
Glad to be a part of that.
One of the things that you and I have been working closely on is the Sullivan County has been sponsoring with a grant an adult ed program so that our tech center could be used for adults that are looking for retraining or retooling. And you've been instrumental in making sure that that has been a possibility. So thank you for that support. And we'll be talking about that in another episode, but I just wanted to bring that up, that we do have that partnership on the plate as part of our workforce development for Sullivan County.
Yeah, absolutely. It's another one of the really important issues for our region is workforce development. And we've been working with, we have an economic development specialist in the UNH Cooperative Extension Office. And so for the last 4 years, it's actually started just after I joined the county, we have a project we call the Regional Economic Profile. And that's one of the issues that we've been digging into is kind of what are the strengths and weaknesses of our regional economy. And what we heard over and over again from our business partners and leaders is the workforce. It's the demographics are not in our favor. We have an aging workforce, which is good because it's experienced, but in 20 years, it's going to become a massive liability.
Right.
And we're concerned about brain drain, and our young people go away to college and they never come back. And so just picking apart that issue led us to realize that the number one opportunity is to focus on the adults that are already here and are either unemployed or underemployed. And so the question is, well, why can't they get a job? There's all kinds of businesses when you drive around that say, help wanted.
Absolutely, River Road, you can see that.
In manufacturing and good paying jobs. That all these employers pass the parking lot test. When you look at what the kind of vehicles their employees drive, it's like, wow,
yes,
they must pay pretty good wages. So you want to connect those people that are underemployed with the vast opportunities that are here and help us understand, well, what's preventing them from getting hooked up with one of those jobs. And we thought a place to start would be a basic skills training course utilizing the wonderful facilities that we have, both here, the building that we're sitting in, and the one in
Newport.
Newport just like it, and let's try to get these folks a foot in the door, right? And so, you've pointed to me, and I would point right back at you, and the Jen Polinsky, the director in Newport, to say, because without you guys as willing dance partners,
Right.
we wouldn't have gotten this off the ground. So
It's definitely
that's
a
also
team
been
effort.
exciting.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate you spearheading it in many ways too for us. So thank you.
Well, somebody had to write the check, I guess.
Hey, as well as you're looking at, we've worked together to apply for some other grants, and we're just waiting to hear what happens with those. So there's some great opportunity down the road. So we'll have some more.
And thank you for that. I thought maybe you'd hit me in the shins with a baseball bat, because that was a very painful process to apply for that grant. But we'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
And then finally, I thought we'd talk a little bit about, I know that you've put a lot of time and effort into, Sullivan County is looking at new branding. What do you call it? The Sugar River Region Project.
Yeah, Sugar River Region. Yes, and that's another offshoot of that project I referenced before, the Regional Economic Profile, the one that we're working with UNH. So that, one of the early meetings we had, again, an attendee from Claremont mentioned early on the issue of regional identity. And the observation was, we're really good at telling everybody who we aren't.
Right.
You're from Sullivan County. Well, we're not the North Country.
Right.
We're not the Lakes region. We're not the Seacoast. We're not the Monadnock region. And it's like, well, goodness, who are we? Telling who you're not, it doesn't really do it. The Upper Valley, I don't know. It fits kind of like one of my high school.
The Upper Valley has their Upper
jackets.
Valley.
Yeah, right. Dartmouth Lake Sunapee, that sort of works for the periphery of the county. I mean, Dartmouth obviously is in Grafton. It's a recognizable,
Sure.
landmark. But anyway, those things just don't fit well. They're not genuine, and it's not that they're not authentic. I just don't think they work. So we, an answer emerged from all this work that we've been doing and the people that we've talked to and the things that we've learned. Really, it all we had our eureka moment last fall. And it was, geez, what's the thing that connects us as a region? And when we looked at a lot of the data points that were uploaded as part of the Love Sullivan campaign, so that crowdsourced app that UNH developed where you could, upload a photograph of your favorite place in Sullivan County. Well, when we did the data analysis from that project, 57% of the points that were uploaded all had to do with the outdoors. It was a hike, a view, a lake, a pond, a river, things of that nature, a trail. And we're like, geez, okay, so it's obvious. It doesn't, again, that's maybe Coach Obvious there a little bit,
Right.
because we know we're in a rural area with a lot of natural beauty. But it just sort of crystallized into this theme that emerged as, well, let's call ourselves the Sugar River region. That's something that is uniquely ours. It starts in Lake Sunapee and it ends in the Connecticut River. No other place can call the Sugar River theirs. It's ours and only ours. And so it's pretty cool in that regard. The tributaries touch 10 of the 15 municipalities in the county. So whether you're talking about Sawyer Brook or Stalker Brook, that come together to form the North Branch, and that touches Grantham and Croydon and Springfield. And then you got the South Branch, which starts in Unity, Washington, Leominster. It's pretty cool. So it seems to have worked. We've talked to a lot of small groups to get their feedback. Everybody has universally thought that we've nailed it in terms of the concept. It allows us to acknowledge our history and the proud past and what the river has meant to us in terms of industry and manufacturing and the role that it's played, and that it's different now. And we look at it more as a recreational asset. The Sugar River Rail Trail, it used to be a railroad carrying, raw inputs and finished goods out of the area. Now it carries snowmobiles, four-wheelers, dog mushers, bikers, hikers, and the like. So
Just hearing you talk all about this makes me more excited about living in the Claremont region in Sullivan County. It's awesome. When's the unveiling? Are we slowly unveiling this?
yeah, it's slow. We're not going to cut a ribbon and say, aha, we're here.
Ta-da.
but we've done some work. We have a logo that we obtained from an online design competition. And so we are working, the next steps are to form a council.
Great.
Because it's a lot of work, and it's more work
Sure.
than I can do or Penelope, our UNH field specialist, can do. And we need to have participation from the community.
Okay.
So, and then the work of that council will be to identify and prioritize further projects. So what are the things that we need to highlight and leverage and develop further to make this an attractive place for both the people that live here as well as visitors? Because the idea is, get people to come and visit. Well, maybe they want to live here,
Right,
and they'll understand
right.
the quality of life that we've come to know and appreciate. So
So let me ask, thank you for being on the show. This has been fantastic, and thank you for sharing. Now that you're back in Claremont in the Sullivan County, what did you miss most about being away for so long? What do you really relish?
I missed everything. That probably sounds like a cop-out
No.
answer. I always knew I was going to end up back here.
That's great.
Primarily, I'd say the connections to my family. But it's just the kind of the quality of life, the way of life. This is what I always envisioned. I absolutely loved growing up here, and I wanted to make sure that my kids could experience it as well, even if it's for a shorter period of time. So that was always part of the plan, and like I said, it just worked out. Very fortunate that the job opening happened to coincide. But yeah, and I'd say, above all that, it's the people. It's the people that make this community so special.
I would agree with you
I
there.
look back at all the folks that I've been fortunate to know, the teachers that I had in school, the friends of our family. I mean, there's just an incredible fabric in this community with people with just their generosity, their sense of humor, and their just genuine humility and humanity. This is a good place to be associated with
I
and
hear
great
ya.
people. So
I
that's
see that one of your rec things that you love to do is the snowmobiling. You did a lot of that this winter, thanks to a lot of snow, which is great.
Yep.
But that recreation part is another big thing of what Sullivan County can offer. All of northern New Hampshire, for that matter. So.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you, Derek. Derek Ferland, manager of Sullivan County. This is Alex Herzog, and I'm the host of this show. But we'll see you around town.